So I just wanted to capture a thought about why, an aspect of the possibility of why someone that is very empathic may end up continuously, cyclically being with, attracting, even creating emotionally unavailable relationships. Um, Someone that is deeply empathic and may also be emotionally unavailable themselves. Someone that's deeply empathic is constantly taking measurements of the outside world. And depending on how sensitive or how aware they are, they will be taking measurements in accordance with what is happening inside of them. So they'll be taking measurements of the world in, in which, within, within which they live, and from within themselves. And so when someone that's like, let's say if it is a spectrum more on the empathic side of things, they will be drawn to someone that is not showing their emotion because they feel the possibly like the mystery or intrigue, but even more than that, they feel as though, oh, there's nothing I need to measure, or maybe there's nothing from my experience, which everyone's experience is going to be a little bit different, that I need to be aware of. Therefore, I'm I I feel a certain way because of this person's, their unavailability makes them feel as though they're a neutral, grounded, stable resource, when their unavailability is actually their own aspect of shutting down, mitigating, um, not necessarily neutrality, but neutralizing. And so then the person that's empathic then becomes more acquainted with the person that's emotionally unavailable, and they may, both parties may end up doubling down in in their own personal strategy of becoming one more emotionally unavailable, because as the person that is emotionally unavailable starts showing their emotions, and both of these are like illusions, labels and illusions, but as the person that's emotionally unavailable begins expressing their emotions, they see that the person that is empathic is actually incapable of being present with their emotions, and so then they become more emotionally unavailable. Um, and then trying to think of what it would be like the vice versa. Um, the person that's empathic, when they do experience something they that they don't like, they will further shut. It's so funny because it's like it's nearly exactly the same mechanism. Well, it is exactly the same mechanism. It's just kind of like leveraged in different directions. But the person that's empathic, when they feel something happen inside of them from what's being witnessed outside of them, that's generally like, a trigger, but that's generally a really good place to I mean, because even if you feel into it, you're already yeah, you're already toast if you're at that point. But the empathic person will further suppress the thing inside of them, which will further cause its expression outside of them. Because as it's being suppressed inside of them, the natural, instinctive, intuitive, deeper awareness process is going to elevate the response and even elevate the reaction to it from external in the environment. And so even then, the more that one is trying to control it internally, the more it expresses itself externally. And so I wish I had a very clear diagram of it, because it's like it's real simple math. There's a couple like inversions or cross products of things, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of like mention that, uh, because it seems to make a lot of sense that someone that's empathic would naturally be more attracted to somebody that is unwilling to express their emotions. Um, and of course there's like, yeah, attraction to somebody that is handling their emotions correctly, but in handling their emotions correctly will promptly call out someone getting way too deep in their field. um, and the funny thing with the person that's empathic is that if someone else were to get into their own field in that same way, would be equally as distressed or distrusting, or not available for that. And so I guess that would be the in between of it, is the person that's emotionally unavailable is just someone that is not currently expressing their boundaries, whether they're the correct boundaries or whether they're some kind of like temporary or existential boundaries to do with not knowing to handle or resolve a situation or a type of feeling. Regardless of that, the person that's emotionally unavailable is not expressing their boundaries, where the empath is, even if they do the hard work of learning their boundaries, but then they actually aren't respecting the boundaries of others. And if in effect they aren't respecting their own boundaries when applied to others. Like, if I have a certain boundary about something, then that means that everyone I interact with, I should honor that same aspect of them as well. Uh, and and that gets very mixed results. I wouldn't suggest doing that flippantly, because it can lead to even more suppression. Like about dealing with someone that's angry or something like that. Like, well, if you're not going to be there for someone when they're angry, then don't expect them to be there for you. And this means in a very, 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 very subtle way. And so then someone's definition of emotional, oh, you're not emotionally available, as in you're not available to be around me in my emotions, means that, well, have you looked at your boundaries? Have you looked at, oh, what do you do when someone is angry, just in a situation or with you specifically? Or, uh, yeah, what do you do if someone's angry? Do you just shut down and kind of just take it as well? And then is it the same across the board? Like, you'll let someone be very angry if you don't really value them, you're very distant from them, and you're using it as an entertainment. But when you get 2 or 3 steps closer in terms of like core relationships, or core identities, core relationships, if someone gets angry, do you have quite the opposite response? That you are not holding space, that you're not showing up, that you're not present. And are you even present if someone is angry as an acquaintance, angry as a stranger? And so it's like, oh, well, this person isn't emotionally available. And well, have you seen yourself? It could be you know, the royal you, that parties are maybe not as emotionally available as they think themselves to be. Um, and it has more to do with the logic of the interaction and respecting and honoring the entity foremost and the boundaries. Because if we make a relationship based on our boundaries, we are making a relationship with the thing that is separating us rather than the thing that is uniting us. And it's not that those things aren't valuable to keep separate, but if it comes down to finger pointing and these kinds of things, then it's clearly not constructive. They aren't constructive boundaries. They aren't being applied equally and fairly. They aren't being administered and administrated properly within the relationship. These kinds of things. And so I wanted to introduce some of these elements because they can be confusing, because there's so much intelligence, there's so much sensitivity and awareness, and it's been diluted by strong, stupid ideas and this aspect of, like kind of like reasoning but not reasoning things out to completion. And so it's like if you reason this out to completion, the person that is deeply empathic also has the exact same ability to be deeply emotionally unavailable, deeply emotionally overwhelmed, and on nearly the same exact operations and mechanisms that someone that is emotionally unavailable is. And so there's a flip-flopping. It's like, oh, I'm going to be empathic towards you, and I am, but in being empathic towards you, it actually brings up what is inside that the empathetic person doesn't want to look at. And so, yeah, I'm empathic because, well, I want to see other people's drama, not my own. And so you can kind of see where there's a lapse in judgment, there's a lapse in consciousness or awareness, or the person isn't actually covering as much territory with their own knowledge as they might be predisposed to think. Yeah, so that's kind of a little bit of an aside. I can't necessarily say there's any solutions. Proper boundaries, which 9 out of 10 boundaries are not proper. Proper boundary first structurally would be an if-then statement. If you keep speaking to me like this, then I'm going to do this. If you keep doing this, then I'm going to do this. If you keep this, I am going to do this. And then it can get more complex from there, but that would be the proper structure for a boundary. And most boundaries don't have proper structure. But yeah, boundaries are also not the solution to this kind of ordeal that people find themselves in. And I don't know what is. If you know, tell me.